I am the Director of Enterprise IT for Evergreen Municipal Holdings, a publicly owned corporation managing everything from water treatment plants and electrical grids to public transportation and citizen services for a mid-sized, bustling city. My world is one of deeply intertwined legacy systems, cutting-edge cloud infrastructure, and a constant, vigilant effort to keep it all stable and secure. Our systems process millions of transactions daily, protect sensitive citizen data, and quite literally keep the lights on and the water flowing. It is a job that demands extreme precision, an encyclopedic knowledge of policy, and an unwavering commitment to operational integrity. I live and breathe disaster recovery protocols, redundancy schemes, and the fine print of every service level agreement. My team is small, highly skilled, and fiercely protective of our digital borders. Be not me, Mr. Sterling Thorne. He was a performance optimization specialist from a boutique consulting firm called Synergy Solutions Group. I had never heard of them. Sterling was sleek, perpetually tanned, and wore suits that cost more than my first car. He arrived with an air of unearned authority, a self-satisfied smirk, and a laptop sticker that read, "Disrupt, innovate, dominate." He knew nothing about municipal IT, critical infrastructure, or the Byzantine network of compliance regulations we operated under. He knew only efficiencies. His arrival was announced by a city council initiative to modernize and streamline our IT operations. Sterling was given carte blanche to poke and prod, ostensibly to find cost savings and improve service delivery. My first meeting with him involved him demanding full administrator access to our production server environment, not read-only, not specific audit accounts, but full, unbridled root access. For visibility, I calmly explained our access control policy, a document thicker than a phone book, which explicitly forbade third-party consultants from holding privileged access without stringent background checks, specific project scopes, and direct, real-time supervision by a dedicated senior engineer. I outlined the risk: data breaches, system instability, compliance violations. He just leaned back, smiled, and said, "I assure you, I am very trustworthy." This policy sounds like it was written by someone afraid of progress. I sent him the policy in an email, CCing my direct superior, the head of operations and legal counsel. I politely but firmly declined his request, offering instead to provision a temporary, read-only account with limited scope, fully monitored, and requiring two-factor authentication. He scoffed, called it unnecessary bureaucracy, and then proceeded to ignore my offer for the next 3 weeks. He spent his time interviewing non-technical staff and creating elaborate PowerPoint presentations filled with buzzwords like synergistic scalable architectures and dynamic enterprise solutions. Then came the demand to migrate all non-essential human resources data to a public cloud solution. By non-essential, he meant every employee record not directly pertaining to payroll processing, performance reviews, disciplinary actions, health information forms, even background check results. His rationale was that our on-premise HR system was archaic, and moving these records to a modern, cost-effective platform, like a well-known public cloud storage bucket, would save the city hundreds of dollars a month in licensing fees. I explained that our employee records contained protected health information and personally identifiable information, subject to strict federal and state regulations. Moving it to an unencrypted public cloud storage without the rigorous security protocols and business associate agreements required would be a massive breach of privacy and a legal catastrophe. I detailed the potential fines, the lawsuits, the damage to public trust. He just waved his hand dismissively. Details. The cloud is secure. Everyone uses it. My firm uses it. Again, I documented everything, email chains with his explicit demands, my explicit warnings, citing specific clauses from the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and our internal data handling policies. I CC'd legal, HR, and my head of operations again. I made sure to include my recommendation that any such migration would require a full security audit, a data impact assessment, and the involvement of our Chief Information Security Officer. He responded with a terse email stating, "Your lack of innovation is noted. Please prepare the migration plan. I expect to see progress." He then tried to force a change in our citywide network architecture. He proposed consolidating all external internet traffic, including our critical infrastructure telemetry data, through a single, third-party managed virtual private network appliance, claiming it would simplify our firewall rules and reduce latency. I immediately saw the gaping security hole this would create. Our critical infrastructure, like the SCADA systems for our water purification plant, communicated on a segregated, highly secured network, isolated from the public internet. This segregation was non-negotiable, a fundamental principle of critical infrastructure security. His proposed change would have routed this sensitive, operational technology traffic through an unvetted third-party VPN, directly exposing our operational controls to an external entity and a potential single point of failure for the entire city's utilities. I explained in painstaking detail the concept of air-gapped networks, the risks of nation-state attacks on critical infrastructure, and the specific regulations governing such systems. I showed him diagrams, presented white papers, even brought in an independent cybersecurity expert for a briefing. Sterling just nodded along, his eyes glazed over before concluding, "It just seems like an inefficient use of resources. We need to consolidate. Less hardware, less maintenance." This time, I didn't just warn. I wrote a formal incident report detailing the potential catastrophic failure, including estimated downtime for water and electricity, and the projected financial and human cost, I submitted it to the city manager, the City Council Oversight Committee, and our legal department. I made it clear that implementing Sterling's suggestion without proper security reviews and architectural changes would be a breach of my fiduciary duty and a direct violation of federal critical infrastructure protection guidelines. His suggestion was quietly shelved, but the seed of resentment in Sterling was now fully germinated. He viewed me as an obstacle, a relic, an enemy of progress. The major incident began brewing shortly after that. Sterling, realizing he couldn't push me to break policy, decided to circumvent me entirely. He worked directly with the city manager's office, leveraging his efficiency expert status and his slick presentations. He secured approval for a pilot program to modernize data management for public records and permit applications. The contract was signed with a company called Viridian Data Solutions, Ltd., a supposed innovative offshore data management firm. I had never heard of them, neither had anyone in my department. They were not on our list of approved vendors. They had no track record, no demonstrable security certifications beyond self-attestation, and their servers were located in a country with notoriously lax data privacy laws and zero data sovereignty agreements with our nation. Sterling had convinced the city manager that Viridian offered unparalleled cost savings and cutting-edge data analytics capabilities that our outdated internal systems could not provide. He promised a 40% reduction in storage costs and a revolutionary new citizen portal experience. The contract explicitly stated that all current and historical public records, including sensitive citizen applications, addresses, financial submissions, and even critical permits for public safety structures, would be migrated to Viridian's cloud platform. I received a copy of the signed contract by accident, buried in a general administrative email thread. My blood ran cold. This was it. This was the specific trigger. I immediately flagged it internally, sending urgent messages to legal, the city manager, and my head of operations. I reiterated every single warning I had given about data sovereignty, security, and the absolute necessity of vetting third-party providers. I pointed out the lack of any security audit clause in the Viridian contract, the absence of any data encryption mandates, and the complete disregard for our established vendor management policy. Sterling, emboldened by the signed contract, then scheduled a mandatory data migration kickoff meeting. During the meeting, he pointedly stared at me and declared, "I expect full cooperation from your department, especially from the IT director, who has, shall we say, been a little resistant to change." He then detailed the timeline for migrating hundreds of gigabytes of sensitive citizen data, including permit applications, property records, and even some municipal court documents, to Viridian's offshore servers. He announced that my team would be responsible for ensuring the smooth and complete transfer of all specified datasets. He tried to pin the blame for any potential delays or complications squarely on my team, preemptively blaming us for obstructing progress and failing to adapt to modern solutions. He made it clear that this migration was happening, with or without my enthusiastic support. This was my breaking point, but not in the way Sterling expected. I went into read-only mode. The fight had been fought, the warnings issued, the policies cited. Sterling had chosen to ignore all of it, and worse, he had actively circumvented the proper channels, securing a contract that violated nearly every IT security policy and data privacy regulation on the books. My master plan began with meticulous documentation. Every single email from Sterling, every meeting minute where he made a demand, every policy citation I had sent him, every warning about Viridian Data Solutions, Ltd. It all went into a locked, encrypted archive. I created a chronological timeline of Sterling's actions, my responses, and the specific policies he disregarded or violated. I dug into the employee handbook, specifically sections on chain of command, delegation of authority, and compliance with regulatory standards. I cross-referenced these with the city's legal bylaws regarding data handling and vendor procurement. My objective was clear: make sure that when the inevitable disaster struck, there would be an unassailable paper trail leading directly to Sterling Thorne's arrogant door. For every migration task Sterling assigned to my team, I responded with an email requesting specific written authorization. For instance, when he demanded we initiate the data transfer to Viridian, I replied, "Acknowledged. Please confirm in writing that this data transfer to an unapproved offshore vendor without a prior security audit or data impact assessment proceeds under your explicit directive overriding IT security policy 4.71, offshore data storage restrictions, and vendor management policy 2.35, third-party security vetting requirements. Please also confirm assumption of all legal liabilities per Evergreen Municipal Holdings Bylaw 12.4, data custodianship and liability." He would always respond, often tersely, along the lines of, "This is a directive from the city manager's office. Proceed as instructed. All policies are subject to review for modernization." Each response was a golden nugget for my file. It explicitly confirmed his direct involvement and acknowledgement of policy overrides. He thought he was simply asserting authority. I knew he was signing his own termination papers. My team, sensing the impending storm, became silent allies. They followed my lead, meticulously documenting every step of the forced migration, every error message, every failed integrity check, every unencrypted data packet leaving our secure network for Viridian's shadowy servers. We generated daily reports highlighting discrepancies and vulnerabilities, and I ensured Sterling received copies of every single one. He never read them. He just forwarded them to his own inbox, perhaps intending to use them later to prove our incompetence. What a fool. The catastrophic failure occurred exactly 4 weeks after the initial data migration commenced. It wasn't a cyber attack, not in the traditional sense. It was far more insidious. A cybersecurity researcher, casually browsing a public dark web forum, stumbled upon a massive, unindexed, unsecured database. It contained hundreds of thousands of records, clearly identifiable as citizen data from our city: full names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, driver's license numbers, utility payment histories, and the details of various permit applications, including sensitive medical facility construction permits and public infrastructure repair schedules. Critical infrastructure blueprints, once thought to be air-gapped, were also found, likely having been transferred during a test migration that Sterling had insisted upon, claiming it would validate our entire dataset. The database was hosted on a poorly configured server owned by Veridian Data Solutions, Ltd. It wasn't hacked, it was just left wide open. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. My phone rang off the hook. First, the city manager, then the head of operations, then legal counsel. Sterling, of course, called me last, his voice trembling with a mixture of panic and rage. What have you done? My God, this is a disaster. You were supposed to secure this data. I walked into the emergency city council meeting that afternoon, carrying a single, slim folder. Sterling was already there, sweating profusely, trying to explain away technical glitches and unforeseen third-party vulnerabilities. He was attempting to paint my department as responsible, claiming we had failed to properly vet Veridian or secure the data during transfer. The city manager, looking pale and furious, turned to me. Director, what is the status of this situation? Mr. Thorne here implies this is an IT oversight. I opened my folder. My voice was calm, steady. City manager, council members, this breach is a direct consequence of a decision made against the explicit, documented advice of my department, and in violation of multiple municipal bylaws and federal regulations. I pulled out the first document, the signed contract with Veridian Data Solutions, Ltd. This contract was signed by Mr. Thorne, bypassing standard procurement protocols and our IT vendor vetting process. Then, a stack of emails. Here is my formal objection to the use of Veridian, citing their lack of security certifications, offshore location, and absence of data sovereignty agreements, timestamped, sent to Mr. Thorne, the city manager, and legal counsel on date. Next, the directive to migrate. Here, Mr. Thorne explicitly orders my team to proceed with the data transfer, overriding IT security policy 4.71 and vendor management policy 2.35. After acknowledging my detailed warnings about the risks, his written directive, dated date, assumes all legal liabilities per bylaw 12.4. I continued, presenting the daily reports my team had generated detailing the lack of encryption, the open ports, and the general insecurity of Veridian's platform. Every single one of these reports was sent directly to Mr. Thorne, who chose to disregard them. Sterling tried to interrupt. These are just technicalities. The spirit of the agreement was efficiency. I cut him off, my voice sharp. The spirit of the agreement, Mr. Thorne, has now exposed the personal data of over 300,000 citizens, put our critical infrastructure at risk, and potentially opened the city to hundreds of millions in fines and lawsuits. These are not technicalities, these are the law. The room was silent. The city manager's face was a mask of disbelief and rage. The council members looked utterly appalled. Sterling Thorne, for the first time, truly looked lost. His arrogance crumbled, replaced by a desperate, hollow stare. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. The city council immediately voted to terminate Sterling Thorne's contract with Synergy Solutions Group and initiated legal proceedings against both him and his firm for gross negligence and breach of contract. A federal investigation was launched into the critical infrastructure data exposure, given the national security implications. The city manager, publicly humiliated, announced his resignation. Within 48 hours, the legal team initiated class action lawsuits on behalf of affected citizens. The reputation of Synergy Solutions Group was in tatters. Their website went offline, and their listed phone numbers were disconnected. Sterling was escorted out of City Hall by security, not permitted to retrieve his disrupt, innovate, dominate laptop. His corporate apartment lease was terminated, and his personal assets were immediately frozen as part of the initial legal injunctions. He didn't just lose his job, he lost his entire professional life, and very likely, his personal freedom. The city faced a long, arduous road to recovery, but the source of the disaster had been unequivocally identified and dealt with. Update 1, weeks later. The dust is starting to settle, though the legal battles will be ongoing for years. My department has been working around the clock to secure the remaining data and implement new, even more stringent protocols. The City Council approved an emergency budget for an entirely new, fully vetted, in-house data management system designed by my team. The irony is not lost on me. Sterling Thorne's Synergy Solutions Group is completely gone, vanished from the corporate landscape. Their website now redirects to a generic search engine. His social media profiles, once brimming with self-congratulatory posts, have been scrubbed clean. He's a ghost. Good. Update 2, months later. The initial findings from the federal investigation are out. They confirm Sterling's direct culpability in bypassing security protocols and procuring an unvetted offshore solution. The critical infrastructure blueprints found exposed were indeed traced back to the test migration he forced. The Attorney General's office is now involved. Sterling Thorne has been formally charged with multiple counts of reckless endangerment of public infrastructure and gross negligence, potentially facing significant jail time. His professional licenses, whatever few he held, have been permanently revoked. His name is now synonymous with epic corporate incompetence. Update 3. Over a year later, I just saw him. Sterling Thorne, not in a courthouse or even a newspaper. He was working at a fast food restaurant drive-thru on the outskirts of the city, wearing a stained visor and a grimace. He didn't recognize me. I ordered a large coffee. He mumbled, "That'll be $4.25. Your total is based on current market efficiencies and disruptive pricing models." I paid in cash, smiled faintly, and drove off. Some people never learn. My department, by the way, got a massive funding increase, and I was given a promotion and a significant bonus. My new job title includes Chief Data Integrity Officer. The lights are still on, the water still flows, and the data is finally safe.